Palesa Ligusu, Director of Internet Governance at the Department of Communication and Postal Services in South Africa. She has a master's in communication management from Glasgow, Scotland. She has been in the internet sphere more than 10 years. Her expertise are in policy and strategy development. Palesa, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd like to say that I'm very honored to have been asked to moderate this session on sustainable development and internet governance. My name is Palesa Legoze from the Department of Telecommunications and Postal Services. And now I will hand over to my colleagues to introduce themselves. I will start with Michel Linze from ACSIS-CAPDA.
I continue with
I've just received the bio for Michel Linze. He's a coordinator of CAPDA in the Central African region and a representative of ACSIS in the same region. He's an activist in ICT activist involved in internet governance issues since the beginning of WISIS. He has just successfully organized the Central Africa Internet Governance Forum in Malabo. And then I will ask Mr. James Mutandwa to introduce himself.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is James Mutandwa Madya. I'm Deputy Director responsible for communications in the Ministry of ICT, Postal and Courier Services of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
And last but not least, I would like to introduce Ms. James Nguo to introduce himself.
Good afternoon. My name is James Nguo. I'm an Ashoka Fellow. I'm the founding director of the ALIN Information Network based in Nairobi, Kenya, working in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you. The topic for now is sustainable development and the internet economy. Sustainable development is defined as a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. With regards to ICTs, I think we know that for the environment is very important in how we deal with that, in terms of e-waste and green ICTs and all of that. And the other thing is that when you look at Africa, the internet economy is still in its infancy. So the important thing here is for policymakers to actually, this is an opportunity for policymakers to take into consideration when developing policies to ensure that all the aspects of a sustainable development are taken into account. Aspects of economical aspects, environmental aspects, social and cultural aspects, governance aspects, innovation, and communication aspects. So these are really important. And I would like to say that I know that the IT is also working in this field to ensure that, whatever we do, we ensure that we don't harm the environment. And also, I think we've just spoken about some of the multi-stakeholder and governance issues regarding the internet, because we need to ensure that moving forward, Africans also find their space in the whole ecosystem of the internet, not just in the economy, but overall internet. And now I'd like to hand over to Michel to make his presentation.
Human society, with the emergence of the ICTs, aerial metamorphosis in this third millennium. So today you cannot say that you can measure the depth of the changes in terminologies throughout the way, where you find the relations between individuals, environment, enterprise, governments, and statistics is really surprising. Let me, through my presentation, express myself on 7 points. First of all, I have an introduction. I have clarification on the meanings of terms. Then digital economy and sustainable development, between being perversity and in then consumption of energy and industries, then reduction of pollution generated by the digital economy, and lastly, I have some conclusions. Now, the digital industry has influenced our behavior in the last 10 years, and it has given birth to a lot of changes within our society. And thus, we can note that we have more than 7 billion mobile telephones which are being used by the people of the world, and we have men and women who are on the Facebook all the time. So if you carry out some inquiry, you can find this out. About 200 million human people are really representing themselves using Twitter and other social media. First of all, have the influence of the digital economy in the process of sustainable development, and how are the organizations from civil society coming in the transition? First of all, let me give you some clarification of terms in regard to certain words, certain terms. We have the notion of environment. We know that environment is defined as these are active matters which related to activities of human being. We have forests, biodiversity, we have rocks, we have fauna, flora, air, water, and so forth. Then we have sustainable development. The notion of sustainable development, which came from English, actually, it is having more liberties of people living today, supported by reasonable efforts in order to risk compromising the future generations. Finally, digital economy. These are services, online services, and also software, which uses digital material, and this allows us to reach a point of facilitation when it comes to terms used in the ICT area. So here we have the meeting point of a number of areas. Now, sustainable development, we have solidarity. Then we have precaution and participation. Participation, which is the key word of our society, given that the discussion here has really been on this communion between the different actors with the aim of facilitating the area of ICT. When it comes to solidarity, here we are trying to put the rich and the poor to come together in order to eradicate poverty. And let me also add, in order to reduce and also eliminate social crisis. So we have precaution also. Here, you study impact on the ecology before you apply what you have to apply in this area. Finally, participation. This is it is the multi-sector stakeholder approach, and the aim is reducing inequality and the conservation of the planet. Now, digital economy and sustainable development, what are the advantages and what do we have as consequences? First of all, we have dynamics in progress and development that are more solid. We may note that in this phase, you have a singularity and the facilitation of quality, and this is a link between the customers and the product they consume. So here we can remove the barriers between us, and this allows us today, for the people who are in the room, we can communicate among ourselves with other collaborators in our office or other partners who are stationed in other countries. Now, perversity, we have difficult competition and problems of monopoly, and this brings about frustration of most of the users who would have really wanted to use the technologies of information, the ICTs. Digital economy, and this is the fundamental matter. We have effects that are immediate, which are caused by the consumption, production, distribution, and the maintaining and elimination by the industry of ICT of the products and services related to this area. We have some other induced effects, and these are caused by the application and use of ICTs in the entire economy and within the entire society. And finally, we have systematic effects, and this comes about a change of structures and behavior at economic and social level. The industry of ICT, given the typology of energy and its consumption, is part of a gray zone which was almost forgotten when we're talking about the digital divide. This area was not looked into, and we noted that energy was really part and a contributing factor to the success of ICT. When it comes to the industries, you find we have proliferation of leisure, and this is unavoidable. We have to use them, and tomorrow we end up becoming independent. Then you have the human people who are participating in human advancement. So you look at all the laboratories for research that are existing today in the different countries, the developed countries, and these aim at promoting the process. And then we also have the inputs for publication, and we have a lot of the defective things, and they have to be thrown away. And this concerns us because Africa at a certain time had become a depository of all these outdated objects. So in our places of work, in our rooms, in the streets, in schools, so briefly, we are living with ICT. So the simple character and the smallness of size really does not allow us to know that they are causing us problems when it comes to our budgets. And here we know that it is not only energy that constitutes essential capital in this process, but also it is becoming an additional charge. Now, the problem of reduction of pollution generated by the digital economy, here I would simply talk about the biocompatible system. The OCO ICT system, here we have to rationalize the manufacture of ICTs. We have to sensitize the users so that they use models that are useful and have a longer cycle of usage. We also talk about the 3R valorization. We have recycling, reconditioning, and reuse as the 3 R's that we will use. What I've enumerated here can be put in summary in this cycle. We have the raw material, we have consumption and realization, and we have movement, distribution, use, and recycling. Now, the other issues, we really have to have an equilibrium between digital economy and sustainable development. We have the interest which we have to look when we look at our environment. So we should have the content and the name of the domain. And here we have interconnection. We have to put in place development of infrastructure in the rural areas. And we have the tension around the issue of cybersecurity. Everybody has talked about that. And moving from analogic to digital when it comes to the use of the television and conversions and mobile internet networks, and also development of online applications. This can only be done when we have good policies in research and innovation, obviously around having a university for developing the digital world in our continent. In conclusion, at the hour of sustainable development, digital really allows us the possibilities for solving the problems that the human being faces. This economy obeys a new polyphony, and we have to rethink a number of things. Digital economy and sustainable development come together in a perspective where one the other have to use complementarity and joint intelligence of the public sector and civil society. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Michel. I think you've alluded to the issue of use, recycle, and reuse, which I think is very important to address in terms of the environment, and that there needs to be good governance structures in place to deal with cybersecurity and other policies for connectivity and all of that. And also, I think the one that stands out for Africa is research and development, because we need to start innovating. So if we are to, ensure that the next generation will be able to take up from where we left up, and so that they're not left out. And one other issue that I wanted to raise was that in the past, in recent times, we've been a lot of countries have dumped a lot of equipment that they were not willing to use in Africa. I think also as governments and other partners, business partners, we need to ensure that we guard against this, because most of the time they bring almost obsolete equipment to Africa, and it becomes an issue for Africa to actually get rid of the equipment that has been dumped, because its lifespan is very small. Now I will hand over to Mr. Nguo, James Nguo, to take the podium.
Thank you very much. My name again is James Nguo. I work for the Arid Lands Information Network based in Nairobi, Kenya. I would like to give you a snapshot of my view of sustainable development versus the growth of the internet economy by giving a case study of my organization, that's the Arid Lands Information Network. 14 years ago, ALIN was using publications to reach the members who were subscribed to the organization to receive information and knowledge. That time we were based in Dakar, Senegal, working in 9 countries in West and East Africa. We would publish did that for about 3 years. And by then, there was a lot of internet growth, and we realized the need to develop the groups that we had worked with into internet groups by equipping them with ICT facilities. So that meant that we were to develop what was then called ICT centers or telecenters. But I'm shy to call them telecenters because we involved creation of knowledge and the dissemination of the same. So we came up with a model of a knowledge center called Marifa Center, which meant that we would get a room out there in the rural areas. We would look through, for connectivity, either via the GSM or an internet line, and we'll keep a minimum of 6 computers from where rural communities would come and train and use ICTs. By doing that, we realized that we were getting to more people, and the ICT centers were connected and they could share knowledge from one point to the other, and we were getting to more people. That meant that we got to disseminate more information, we got more feedback from people, and we understood their needs and were able to tailor information products and services that were applicable by that time. Over time now, we've realized that there is evolution in ICTs, and people don't need to come to a central place to receive information or to send information, because the evolution of the mobile telephony has changed everything. Now, ALIN has embarked on a project meant to, deliver information on mobile phone using mobile applications. And that way, we are able to reach even more people because there are more people who are acquiring mobile phones. That means we are able to make more products that can bring financial inclusion, among other things. My reason for taking you through that historical part is to show you that when you have ICTs where many people can be able to receive training on and use these, you are able to promote sustainable development because you can be able to reach more people, you can be able to sell more products, and the incomes can be able to improve over time. And that way, we've been able to, continue as an organization, grow the centers to the extent that in 2011, ALIN was the first sub-Saharan organization to receive the $1 million Bill and Melinda Gates Award. And in 2012, we got the UNESCO IPDC Prize for Rural Communication. So for me, I appreciate and see a good connection between the growth of the internet economy and sustainable development. With those few remarks, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. And now I'll ask Mr. James Mutandwa to take the podium.
The presentation I'm going to deliver begins by defining sustainable development and proceeds to paint the picture of the internet economy. While exploring the relationship between these two critical issues, the presentation will also look at how ICTs and the internet can facilitate implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. To make the picture perfect, the presentation finally considers the implications this relationship will have on internet governance. Going back into history, 1990, some of you will recall the Brandant World Commission on Environment and Development that gave birth to efforts that led to the 8th Summit in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil in 1992. That commission gave us the definition of sustainable development, which states that this is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. During the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit to be held later this month, 25 to 27 September, the United Nations will place 17 Sustainable Development Goals with 169 targets at the heart of its post-2015 development agenda, which will guide development until 2030. I now turn to look at the internet economy. We live in an era where interconnection, digital technological innovation are transforming and disrupting traditional approaches to just about everything. Whether you call it the sharing or collaborative economy, the application economy, the knowledge or human economy, or the internet economy, this constant technological advancement is driven by a world that is simply interconnected by the full spectrum of internet-based communications, in turn driven by the currency of trust. Things are moving very fast with the arrival of big data analytics and the Internet of Things. And we must make sure that we are ready for the impact this will have on digital privacy, security, trust, as well as on skills and employment. The digital economy now permeates countless aspects of the world economy, impacting sectors such as banking, retail, energy, transportation, education, publishing, media, and health. Information communication technologies are transforming the way social interactions and personal relationships are conducted. And fixed mobile and broadcasting networks are converging, and devices and objects are increasingly getting connected to form the Internet of Things. A lot has been written about the internet economy, but very little has been said about how to thrive in such an economy. All we have to do is to adapt to such an environment. The internet economy is complex and challenging and moves so fast to keep up to date on everything. One would be doing well if they just have to keep on moving straight ahead. I now turn to look at how ICTs and the internet can facilitate implementation of the SDGs. The internet has to play its part as an enabler, a critical enabler. The UN agencies, UNCTAD, UNESCO, ITU, are already at work. They are identifying synergies between SDGs and WISE's action lines. And I suppose this exercise will also be extended should our proposal as Africa to extend the action lines from 1 to 11 to now be from 1 to 15. ICTs also need to play a crucial role in monitoring and measuring progress towards sustainable development, in facilitating data gathering and analysis of the indicators. We are told that the UN agencies have begun work to identify these indicators. Now, allow me to turn to the implications for internet governance. The internet economy requires sustainable multi-stakeholder approaches to development, thanks to ICTs and the internet, which will enable more effective collaborative development stakeholders and new ways to manage programs. Given the fact that the private sector currently plays the predominant role in networks and services, cooperation between business, government, and other stakeholders remains necessary. Furthermore, a sustainable internet based on open and collaborative approach to policy, standards, and technology development will be crucial at maximizing its contribution to the challenges and opportunities of sustainable development. The following three core principles to foster innovation and collaboration between stakeholders, that is, multi-stakeholder participation, collaborative security, and open, universal, interoperable standards will require upholding. In conclusion, and finally, please allow me to inform the Fourth African Internet Governance Forum that the 2015 UN Global Internet Governance Forum's multi-stakeholder advisory group, the MAG, has decided to retain evolution of internet governance, empowering sustainable development as the overarching theme of the Global Forum. The theme will be supported by 8 sub-themes that will frame the discussions in Brazil, and the internet economy is among those sub-themes. The discussion will continue in Brazil. I thank you.
Thank you very much, James. You know, you said in your presentation that a lot has been written on the subject of the internet economy. But you know, a few months ago, when I was doing my research, I found that there's really nothing on Africa and the internet economy. I think there's a gap there, and because you know you get people speaking about certain things, but then with regards to the internet economy. So I think you know our research and development is very important because you need to know where you start and where you go, so that you can monitor and evaluate your progress. And also what you said is that you know people talk about the internet economy, but they don't know how. They don't tell you how to thrive. There's no toolkit to say that this is how you flourish in the internet economy. Like you said, it's really very complex. And also saying that we need to adhere to standards, your security standards and all those other standards, and we need to have policies in place. And with that, I'm opening the floor to questions. Okay, I'm seeing a question here, one at the back and one over there. I'll start with you, Jameson.
Thank you, Madam Chair and distinguished panelists. This is just a comment because I am the ICT industry with regard to internet economy. We have a general understanding that in the industry, even at the global level, the World Information Technology and Services Alliance, in our policy development processes, we have a general position that ICT has really evolved. And when we talk about ICT these days, we're also talking about the internet. So we talk about ICT economy, talking about internet economy, and by and large, which is about 4.2 trillion USD. But of course, as you said, there's still need for more research and study, because even when Nigeria did the rebasing of its GDP, and we saw, okay, ICT is contributing about 9%, but it still has a lot of a contribution to other sectors which are not being adequately measured. So there is room for more research. And just for a comment and to illuminate the subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jameson. I'll get the question from the back.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to comment on the issue of waste, e-waste. It has not featured much in quite a lot of the discussions. It is a very serious problem. There are certain parts of West Africa in particular. If you go there, you will be horrified. I don't know if it's reached parts of Southern Africa, the SADC regions, but some of the port cities of West Africa, there are container loads, 50, 60 container loads of scrap equipment lying there that would cost us and is costing us to dismantle it and to dispose of it in a proper way. I think the basic problem here is a government, not a governance, a government issue, where these container loads are being brought in by unscrupulous businessmen and with partners in our respective countries, as donations to so-called charitable organizations, and that's how they're getting around it. More policing has to be done on this, both in the government sense and also in if one might say, the business sense has to be brought up to steam as to the possible ramifications of such a process and a policy that and a course of actions that they're taking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there was a hand there. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ever since this morning, the various presentations shared common concerns, and the quality of the presentations was such that we need to congratulate them. So I would like, based upon what's said by Sisekan concerning the issue he raised of the notion of the internet, and often you'll find there are many challenges, and I'd like to call upon the members of this meeting when it comes to the mechanisms that we need to highlight when it comes to the adequate ownership of this issue of the internet economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have a hand at the back behind you. Okay, you can speak. You'll speak after.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to commend all those who presented. I'm going to focus my comment on the digital economy. Yes, we all agree that the digital economy's share in Africa's economies is very large, but I believe that the problem is elsewhere, is that we have not been able to measure the exact share we have in the global economy. For instance, in Senegal, a study was done by the ITU says that the share of the digital economy in Senegal's economy is 11%. And you find that there are documents that are sent out by the AU or the ECA that indicate that we have problems with quantifying this share. And this is why, in fact, this is an appeal to the AU and the ECA. It is time for us to have observatories national observatories, or at least precise indicators that would make it possible to measure the share of the digital economy in our global economies, because this will help us with the various guidelines. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And there's a hand over there.
Oh, is me?
So thank you, Malaku again. So, Africans, they must believe in their own, qualified individuals. So if you look at the technologies are acquiring, most of them are, operated by, external, parties or people coming from abroad. And most governments, they don't trust, as far as my experience at the university is concerned, our officials, they're not coming to the university to ask, what is the appropriate technology and how to operate it and stuff like that. They rather focus on, acquiring from international and stuff like that. So the people are coming. If you look at, huge databases are operated by, from India or from outside, from not from Africa even. So, Africans, they have to make sure that, they have this human capital. They have to focus on that. And then they must come to the universities or places where, professionals are operating, to ask their advice, right, whenever they acquire the technology. Yeah, I share the idea raised by the colleague. Some of the technologies are crap. Sorry to say that. They are buying the wrong quality. We face this problem, and many people are in jail because of that decision. So it's good to see what is appropriate technology for us. There are many technologies out there. So what fiber optic cable to buy, for instance, and then what kind of technology out there. So we need to have the people, and then we need to use our own people to choose that. So at least we will minimize the dollars outgoing from Africa. So we have to retain within our own continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, the chairperson. Africa must wake up to the fact that there are advantages for us to develop our economies and sustain it with the opportunities we have in what internet presents. We have the application level. We have the local content. Some of us can develop local content in terms of the Nollywoods of this world. Can our people make money from there and grow our economy? We have the DNS industry, the domain name. How many of us are growing our CCTLD? Are we taking advantage of what the businesses that are presented there? Is the economic opportunity for us to sustain to continue to have sustainable development? We also we should give the enabling environment. We should give the right information. We should give the right education, and our people will get it. There's the infrastructure aspect of it. How many of Africans are developing infrastructure, homegrown infrastructure? We should also encourage that, so that it's not only taking the scraps, but what are indigenous to us. When I came into this country, I said, this country deserves to have an IDN, because the character of their wordings and their language, it deserves to have an IDN. I don't know whether they've taken advantage of that to build IDN around the DNS industry. I want to also to say that our partners, the government, the policies, they should look at what the industry, the DNS industry, the internet industry, the ICT industry can present, and put policies that will enable our people to take advantage and grow our economies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. In the absence of any questions, of any more questions, I think I'll just ask the presenters to wrap up, because I think mostly it was comments that were being made. There was no real questions, unless if I'm mistaken, but I'll just let the presenters to comment. Okay, James Mutandwa, can you please comment?
I haven't much, moderator, but all I want to stress is that the concept of sustainable development has been there since the 90s. We have with us all that the internet has brought for us, the internet economy. I believe we can live in that economy and sustain it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. In my view, I think for us to grow or to improve the sustainable development, we need to improve the access and the use of ICTs. And this, in my view, is a joint effort between us, the civil society players, the governments, and many other players, so that when we improve access, then we have many more people using and we grow our economies.
Thank you very much, James. Michel?
Une des choses importantes,
An important point following upon the discussion is that we need to be aware of the stakeholders in this process. I think that my only concern is perhaps shared by everyone else, is that it is time for all the entities come together to find solutions so that Africa can move forward when it comes to ICT. This is the opportunity to participate actively and effectively in Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And, you know, taking from what the gentleman said at the back about e-waste, and I think that's one of the areas that you really didn't touch on in the discussion, is that I think more needs to be done to ensure that people are aware of the cost for Africa to actually dispose of the scraps that containers bring to the continent. Because it doesn't, for me, it doesn't benefit us when people say that, no, it's just to give access to people, because I think if you really want to give people equipment, you should give them equipment that you yourself would use. And also the issue of indicators, I think as Africa, we have a serious problem about indicators, because we get measured by other countries and we don't know what mechanisms do they use to measure us and say that this is where we are, this is our GDP. We need to find ways and mechanisms to actually have our own indicators, so that when we speak, we can speak with authority and say that as a country, this is what ICTs contribute to the GDP, and this is how many internet users we have in the country, because we cannot continue to rely on other people from outside to come and tell us where we are as countries and as Africa. And with that, I will hand over to Adiel.
Thank you, thank you. Give them a... it is now 5 minutes to 2. Let's come back 5 minutes to 3, please. It's a lunch break. Enjoy your lunch.
Microphone.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind the rapporteurs that they are supposed to work on the report and not come back to this room at 3 o'clock like the other participants. But as we already said, we want each moderator to send the conclusions and recommendations for the report. We have received from many of you, but still we have some missing. I wish to inform you that the rapporteurs list is as follows. The coordinator is Barack Ocheno from Kenik, Kenya, Mohamed Timulali from Gopik, Morocco, Tawala Nyirenda Jero from NPCA, Emilar Vuche from APC, Antoine Benoit Diouf from IDEP, Mamadou Ndiaye from Senegal, and Masani Korone from Niger. We wish you bon appetit.